Alright, and today we're once again taking a look at Tropical Depression 11. Still remains a tropical depression. Not Tropical Storm Josephine yet, but could be very soon, potentially by tonight. Latest from National Hurricane Center, winds of 30 knots or 35 miles per hour, and a pressure of 1,007 millibars. So the pressure has jumped 1 millibar from 1,008 down to 1,007 here, and it's moving west at 14 miles per hour, so it has also slowed down, but it is still moving pretty much due west right now. So it hasn't taken that little bit of north eastern turn yet, like the models show it. So we have to see if that turn will be taken or not. But it still seems like it's gonna potentially shoot up at some point, kind of go like this maybe. We'll just see when it does start to take that northern turn. Otherwise, it could just go right into the lower Antilles. But don't get any ideas on that yet. Here's the latest National Hurricane Center cone. And as you can see, they do show it taking that turn very soon, and start taking that turn very, very soon. And they're still expected to remain a tropical storm from the beginning all the way to hour 120, I think it is. So the track hasn't really shifted, south or north. It's still in that same general area. And sorry about that, guys. Still in the same general area. But we have seen a little bit of a turn now in the latest track where they do show this turn a little bit more to out to sea. So we'll see if that trend continues or not. But it does keep it tropical. So actually, National Hurricane Center does speak it as a 60-mile-per-hour storm. And then right here, we're looking at 40 mile per hour. So we'll see how that holds or not. Um, and I definitely think though it could re-strengthen after here into something stronger here as we get into the later part of the thing. But obviously, this could still change a lot. Here's the latest satellite imagery if this does end up loading. Sorry about that. So we've seen a blow up in convection in the latest frames, which shows that it's getting a little bit more organized. Now, keep in mind, it was in a little bit of shear, was having a little bit of trouble after yesterday's night big blow up in convection. It started really falling apart. Like you can see it right now, it was really falling apart. And now we're seeing this brand new convection of blow up right here. Near the center actually, and it's just starting to blow up as well as this here, and those two are really starting to blow up significantly, and maybe it can really help this really reform a better center. But here it is, that new convection, and we have a little bit more convection, still kind of one-sided storm with the low pressure being around here. We still have no thunderstorm activity whatsoever on the right hand side of the system, where on the left side we have all the cloud cover and the thunderstorm activity. So this is still a one sided system, and it has yet to really wrap around significantly. But we are seeing a new blow up in convection, which could help the system potentially become tropical from Josephine in the next update, if of course that trend continues. If we look at the true color zoomed out imagery, you can clearly see that it was looking, it has opened up a lot, and it was looking, a whole lot less, a whole lot less good looking. And now you can clearly see once again, here's that low pressure system. Here's that new blow up in convection right to the north of it, and you can clearly see this blowing up. It would be really helping if some of this could blow up over the center of this system, because that would significantly help this really form. But if we look at how it looked earlier, you could really see that it had really opened up here, even all the way through here. Maybe some dry air coming in, and it was really becoming a whole lot more, dispersed out. But that is starting to really reorganize itself with that new blow up of convection, potentially covering the center. And keep in mind, it was fighting a little bit of shear, a little bit of shear, a little bit of shear here earlier today, which is why it was having a little bit of more of trouble. But now it's going to be getting in a less sheared environment, which could really help it become Tropical Storm Josephine. So here's the latest GEPS track or models, which is the GFS model assemble. And we've seen a little bit of a shift, a little bit more models now taking it through a later turn in the track, where in the earlier models, most pretty much every single models were taking this turn right here, and now we're seeing a lot more models taking this a later turn here, a little bit of a later turn with this system. So we'll see if more models hop on board. We also have a little bit more models taking an earlier turn, but less models taking that middle turn. So really, the model has kind of splitted between three possibility with the GFS: a very early turn, a kind of middle road turn that we've seen earlier, and a later turn. So this is kind of how we've been seeing, but the trend has been potentially for a later turn. The trend from the new model from the GEPS. So we'll see if that trend continues or not. But they're still not showing really a significantly strong system. You can clearly see they only bring it down to 1,008 millibars at its lowest, maybe 1,005 all the way north up there. But they don't really, GFS doesn't really make this a strong system. Oops. Here's the latest models for the system, and we have really haven't seen really changes. We still have three models bringing it out to sea. The other models continuing it on that same route. But a change I've seen is that all the models that were bringing it more like this, they've now all kind of shifted a little bit more upwards, where they kind of curve it out. So it looks like an out to sea storm is kind of getting more likely. Also, keep in mind the red one here. Earlier today, it was showing this doing a loop, kind of like this, on the earlier run. So we'll see if that's still a possibility, because this red one was showing doing a loop like this, kind of looping and back on its original track. So that's still not out of the question. But then again, it's still moving west. So could it turn later than expected? That's still, again, not out of the question. There's still a possibility. But the more south it goes, the more likely it is to interact with the islands, and then also more likely to interact with the USA. The more north it goes, the less likely it is, of course, to interact with the islands in the USA, and the more likely it is to go out to sea. But if I had, my model based on my track, which you'll see at the end of the video, my model will bring it a little bit like this, a little bit like the green model there. So that's my model, and those ones, if you had to compare it. Here's the intensity guidance. We've seen once again a little bit of a drop off through a weaker storm, and we've seen this trending really the last few model runs. We've seen this coming up to a stronger storm, back to a weaker storm, back to a stronger storm. It's just being up and down. Same thing with the tracks. One model run, they all take it out to sea. The other model run, none of them take it out to sea. So it's really been a shift, because it's just very hard to predict right now. The new model runs, the one that brings it to a peak of 65 miles per hour, that's the strongest one right now, which does rapidly intensify. But most of the models bring it to around 50 to 45 miles per hour, it looks like. And a lot of models do have it becoming a tropical storm in the next 24 hours, but only one model shows it becoming a tropical storm in the next 12 hours. So it looks like potentially it might not become a tropical storm as earlier as expected. And then from the most model, we do see the strengthening and then a big drop off at 36-hour mark. And then pretty much being dead by the 120-hour mark. And in the earlier model, we were seeing some models re-strengthening it after 120 hours, but that has now gone out of the question based on the models. So we'll have to see the next model runs. But right now, based on the models, of course, we're looking at a tropical storm. Now again, based on my track, which we'll say at the end of the video, if I have to put my model in it, my model just goes like this and then like this. This is my model. Kinda, not exactly, but it's something like that. So that's my model in this, and then I would strengthen it back up quite significantly. So I guess I'm an outlier in there, if I had to put what I think it would be, which is pretty interesting. But now I'm going to be getting into my forecast very quick. But first, let's look at the GFS model and a couple models for what they're showing in terms of the system. Here's a GFS model, and again, it is looking at a storm that could peak at maybe 1,002 millibars. But keep in mind, I'm not going to show the map again because it's always the same. But we do have wind shear and dry air here, which could potentially, a little bit hurt the system. But the highest wind shear is to the south here, and there could be a little bit less dry air than originally expected there. But most models they do show it going out to sea and dying pretty much kind of falling apart after they pass this area of strong wind shear and dry air. But the only model really that shows it going towards the U.S., which which would be the worst case scenario, is the CMC there, and the CMC does, or actually was, showing it going towards the US. It seems like it does not show that anymore, but the CMC was showing a Carolina landfall, so let's look at that. CMC, it shows it just for reference. This would be potentially tropical storm Josephine right here from the CMC model. So it looks like CMC actually doesn't show it heading towards the US anymore. Yeah, CMC doesn't show it going towards the US anymore. The CMC now shows it going like this, intrinsically, like this, my bad. So yeah, CMC has, it looks like the model has changed for the CMC. So which would mean pretty much none of the models show it heading towards the US, which is good news. But again, with those long tracking storms, this could really change significantly. So let's go to my forecast for this system, and here it is. This is my cone with my intensity on there that I've made for you guys. So it does only go out to there, but this is my intensity forecast. So I do expect it to remain a tropical depression a little bit longer, but I think now, with what we've been seeing with the latest, I think this could actually be a tropical depression a whole lot earlier than I was originally expected. Maybe this could already be a tropical depression. But in terms of this, I do expect this becoming a 40 mile per hour system, a 40 mile per hour system, right before probably in the next 24 hours or so, maybe in like 36 hours. But I do expect this, as you can see right here, to become a 40 mile per hour system. And then once it gets into this high wind shear and dry air right here, I do think it has a pretty high chance of weakening back to a tropical depression for a while, as highlighted here, which is pretty likely. But then the question comes: it is likely to re-strengthen, unlike some of the other models show. But if it could go something like this, I feel like. And the cone's still very big. The cone's still this big at least. And I feel like it could do something like this. Keep in mind, there's the high pressure around here. So this is just depends also where exactly is this high pressure going to be placed. And we got this high pressure here. So where is it going to be placed is going to be playing a very big role in this. But let's say it's around here, this would be the cone. Then it could go, the more to the west or east it is, the more likely it is to turn very much out to sea. And the more to the right this is, the more likely it is to not, the more it moves towards towards the U.S., the more likely it is to move, also to track to move toward the U.S. Um, so we're gonna have to see how this does end up developing out. But right now, it looks like sorry about that, guys. Sorry. My sister's making me laugh. But right now, if I had to extend my cone out, I would make it pretty much. I'm gonna extend a little bit out. I would make it pretty much like this. Because I'm not ruling out the possibility for this, but I do think it will turn out a little bit like this and just miss the U.S. entirely, which is the most likely scenario right now. With this high pressure placed probably around here, it looks like this is how it's going to be playing out. So we'll see how that does end up, if my predictions are going to be right or not. But I'm pretty certain something like that could happen. And also, Adrian's weather forecast, I don't know if you guys know him, but his cone actually takes it like this, or something a little bit like this. His cone actually takes it all the way to here and wraps it back out. So, it's a possibility, but, his cone actually, it makes it have a landfall and then takes it back out like mine. So, it's just going to depend, but he is talking about the high pressure like I am talking, which could move it at some other area. So we'll have to see where that moves out. And,